Hello all, myself Dr. Shanti Verma. In today's tutorial, I am going to discuss Lambda functions in Python programming. Let's first discuss the learning objectives of this session. At the end of this session, you are able to understand what are the Python Lambda functions, why they are used, how to write these anonymous Lambda functions within the user-defined functions, using anonymous functions within the filter, map and reduce methods. Now let's first discuss what is lambda. Basically lambdas are known as also anonymous functions. We call these anonymous functions because they don't have any name or any identifier. Basically the lambda functions are first introduced in the field of the mathematics by the Alonzo Church in the 1930s. In today's modern programming, mostly modern programming languages like C hash, Python, C++, Java, all these languages supports the lambda functions to add the functionalities to the languages. Now, basically, in Python, lambda expressions or the lambda forms are utilized to construct the anonymous function. Generally, when we declare any function in Python, we are using a def keyword. But for declaring any anonymous function, we have to use a lambda keyword. Every lambda function or anonymous function you can define in Python having the three essential parts. First is a lambda keyword, second is the parameters or the bound variables, and third is the function body. Basically, lambda function can have any number of parameters, but the function body have contain only one expression. This should be noted that many parameters you can pass in a lambda function, but only one expression you can write within the lambda function. Now, why they are used? Basically, lambda functions are used for either one-time use or the input output of the other function or to reduce the code size of your Python program. One-time use means you can throw away functions as they are needed and you can use just only once. For input output to other functions, basically they are also passed as an input or return as an output to the other higher order functions. Basically the lambda functions are written in a single line. So with the help of uses of the lambda functions, we can reduce the code size. Now, what is the syntax for the lambda function? Basically, lambda function is created using the lambda keyword, and for writing any lambda or declaring any lambda function, you have to first write lambda, that is a keyword. Then the parameters or the arguments you have to pass, colon sign, and then expression. In this example, you can see that I declare a one function lambda having two parameters that are x and y and one expression that is x plus y with the colon sign. It returns a value in the variable that is called as adder. Now, if I want to print the value of adder, I have to write print adder and pass the values of x and y. If x is 1 and y equals to 2, you can see that here is the output is 3, that is calculated using x plus y expression declared in a lambda function. Now, how to declare lambda within user-defined function? In this example, you can see that I declare one function that name is a new function and having one parameter that is x. Within this function, in the return statement, I use a lambda and this function returns lambda y x plus y. So it takes a x value from the user defined function and y from the lambda function calculate the sum and return as a output. Now, if I call this user defined function new function with the value 3, uh, now if I want to print, then I write T3. So here x equals to 3 and y is also 3, so the value is 6. But if I call this new function and pass this value 2, then x equals to 2 and here y equals to 3, then the value of this is 5. So lambda functions are best used within the other higher order functions. Now, how to use filter in lambdas? Basically, the filter function is used to select some particular elements from a sequence of elements. As the name suggests, it is filtering the elements. Basically, the sequence can be iterated like any data structure or of Python, list, sets or tuples. The elements which will be selected is based on the some predefined constraint. Basically, this filter function have the two parameters. First is a function that defines the filtering constraint, and second is a sequence like any iterator, a list, tuple, set, etc. In this example, you can see that I first declare a one list. That name is a my list with the values 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I have to use a filter and I want to store a value in a form of list. So I use here list keyword. Now I use a filter. Within the filter I have to first write the lambda function. So I write lambda, the parameter is a and the expression is a divided by 3 equals to 2. So it filtered the elements having a divided by 3 equals to 2 with the list my list. Now if I print here the new list, what is the output? Basically for if the value is 2, then 2 divided by 3 is not equals to 2. Similarly for 3 divided by 3 is not equals to 2. Only for the 6, if the a is 6, then 6 divided by 3 is equals to 2. So the output here is a 6 in the form of the list. So basically it filters the value on the basis of the defined constraint declared with the lambda. Now what is map? Basically the map function is used to apply a particular operation to every element in a sequence. Like filter, it also takes a two parameters, a function that defines the operations to perform on the elements, and second is a one or more sequences like tuple, list or set. In this example, you can see I use the same example, but I use here map in place of the filter, and the constant here is a divided by 3 is not equals to 2. Basically, this map function gives the result in the form of the Boolean output. So, a divided by 3 is not equals to 2 in all cases of the list element except the 6. So, for the 6, you can see in the output the result is a false, and all these cases the result are true. Now, what is reduce function? Basically, this reduce function is like map is used to apply an operation to every element in a sequence, but it differs from map in its working. There are the following steps that we followed for when we are using a reduce function. First step is to perform the defined operation on the element on the first two elements of the sequence. Save the result. Perform the operation with the saved result and the next element in the sequence. Repeat this step until the no elements left in the list. This function also have the two parameters. First is a function that defines the operation to be performed, and second is any sequences like lists, tuples or sets. For using the reduce function, you have to import a one module. So in the example, you can see that here I take write from fun c2 import reduce. It required to use a reduce that is inbuilt in your Python. You don't have to install it from any source. Now I declare a one list having the elements 23, 21, 45 and 98, and I use a reduce function. Here the lambda function is a take any two value and add that value and take the parameters from the my list. Now how this lambda function work with the reduce? It takes first 23 and 21, first two elements from the list, sum it, then 23 plus 21 is a 44. Now it's add next the value is a 44 is stored in A. In B it takes a 45, then 44 plus 45 that is 90. 44 plus 45 that is 99. Again 99 plus 98 and it takes the value 187 as a output. Now let's discuss why or why not use the lambda function. Basically, one of the most common use cases of lambda is in the functional programming, and it allows you to provide a function as a parameter to the another function. You can also use the map, filter, reduce with the lambda for the extraction. And basically lambdas offer an elegant way to create a one-time function and pass it as a parameter. But why not use? Basically you should never write a complicated lambda functions in a production environment, and it is very difficult for the coder who maintain your code to decrypt it. So basically lambda is used for only one liner expression, and if your code is complex, don't use a lambda function. As a best practice, you need to remember that the simple code is always better than a complex code. On the basis of the lambdas in Python programming, I give you two questions as assignment. First is to write a Python program to perform the arithmetic operations using lambda. Second, explain the use of the lambdas in filter, map and reduce with example. For more learning, you can refer these references. Thank you.